Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. How we doing today? Good, everybody? Yo, yo, Hamza, Gary. Yeah, Kean, no, that's a disgrace. It's a disgrace. Really, that bad, huh? I don't totally disagree. Connor, good to see you guys here. Yasser, Shahish. Morton, good morning. Good morning. How y'all doing? Hope everybody is doing well today. Kean in 2025. I mean, Kean in 2025 is better than Kean in prior seasons, to be fair. But I'm not totally in disagreement with you though. Good evening. Hello. Hi. How's it going? Hey. Ho. Yay. Yo. Yo. Paul. Saram. Fruit. Shoot. Za. Billy. Fruit. I think I need to get back to you about something, right? Someone mentioned that you're having some trouble getting back in your account back into the Patreon. Let me. I don't remember to check that out after this. Apologize if I haven't already. Sean. Marcus. Daniel. Francisco. Avi. Stewart. Good to see you, buddy. Sam. Sokar. Bazimon. Sokirna. Everybody. Gamer. Um, Michael Hill, Francisco. You planning on going to the Windy City for preseason? For sure, for sure. I will be there. Um, I will be there. In Chicago. I will be there in Chicago on Yeah, I'll be there in Chicago. I mean, everybody turned that Campos thing down, right? I mean, like literally everybody played that down already, right? Um, like everyone. Uh, yeah. So I doubt it. Um, that there's still anything in it. Sir Alex spotted having dinner with Luis Campos. Yeah. Hello from South Africa, Macmillan. Good to see you. Urunbira. Mantato finally, yes. You know, the thing about that, like, let's say that's even true, that Campos is meeting with Sir Alex. What would it have to do with United, I guess, would be my question, you know? Sir Alex is an ambassador who's not really being an ambassador. You were indeed right about their best three forwards being injured. Yep, all three of them gone. All three of them gone. All three of them out. Um, Dari, hello from Byron. Braithwaite is United code. I actually agree with you, Hams. I don't agree with you on a lot of things, but I adore Braithwaite. I think he is such a United type center back to me. Didn't everybody kill the Campos thing already? Like same day, Fabrizio. No, Fabrizio did. It's over, guys. I mean, I did too, but forget me for a second. I like to forget what I hear and say who else. You know, Fabrizio killed the Campos news too. Fabrizio's as good as it gets. As good as I mean, you got to give some respect on Fabrizio for United in recent times. By the way, you really do. He is on top of things for United. He is on top of things for United, you know. Um, Baran, I'm sorry, I'm never gonna pronounce it all correctly. I'm just not. Hi from Manchester, Ramon. Yeah. Okay. Selling a horse, yeah, maybe a horse. Rashford and Campbell's having dinner. Um, Fabrizio from the airplane commercials. Oh man, you guys kill me. You guys kill me. You really do. Okay. How we doing? Okay. Um, yeah, let me just get this going. All right, we've got a lot to discuss. We've got a lot to discuss. Yeah. Let's see. What do I want to talk about today? I want to talk about Bruno. We spent a good 45 minutes discussing Bruno yesterday, while knowing full well from the start that he was not going to leave no matter what happens anyway. Iron my flag. Look, I'm going to be honest with you, Jimbo. I'm going to be honest with you, Jimbo. My wife bought that. I have no idea if that thing will survive an iron or where it came from. And your concern is genuine, but I think if I put an iron on that flag, it will melt. and it will catch flames. It'll catch on fire, and I will not have an iron anymore. I mean, a flag anymore. So we're gonna make do with what we have for now, because I have no idea the quality of that flag, and I would not trust putting anything hot near it. It might be a hazard. Um, um, uh, Cunha news. We put a towel over top and iron through the towel. You guys know a lot more than I do about these things. Um, uh, just a steamer. I do have a steamer. I do. It'll probably combust. That's what I think too. I need to get like a flag. Okay, I need to get like a flag. Um, no doubt about that. But yes, hello everybody. Sorry. So yeah, we spent most of yesterday's stream talking about Bruno Fernandes with the full knowledge that Bruno Fernandes is not going anywhere. We knew that. We were sure of that. He's not going anywhere. Everybody's kind of put it down at this point in time, but we already knew, right? I said yesterday, Bruno has expressed zero intention of going anywhere. He's committed to the club. He's committed to United. United are committed to him. Bruno's going nowhere. Forget it. Put it in the back of your mind. It's not a thing. It's just not happening. He's not going to leave United for Saudi anytime soon. That being said, what I will say is this. If we are not great next season, after the World Cup, that might be a different story. I'm not going to lie. But that's the whole different situation. If we had like another bad season, then I would honestly suspect he would leave after the World Cup next year. But that's a different story. I mean that's just normal. He's if we're not on track to start winning big things, then obviously he'd want to leave at that time. So yeah. If 150 million. No, we're not doing it again. We're not doing it again. We did this discussion yesterday. We did it to death. No offense to that on the question. I do appreciate you, but we did it to death yesterday, honestly. Like we abused the topic. Can you turn your mic a little? It should be at the maximum. Sometimes at home it doesn't on this microphone is not as good as my other one, but it is at the max. I can't actually. I can move it a little closer is what I could do, but I cannot add it anymore. I'll just impose my voice a little bit more. Yeah, if we didn't improve him, we would probably need a good sale in order to fund further builds. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of whatever on that vein. Bruno can't be buy. Bruno can't be buy. That's the word of the day. Bruno can't be buy. So that's it. Bruno can't be buy. He's staying, and he will lead the team next season. Audio is all good. So yeah, we'll be fine there. And that's how it should be. We'll be able to build our team with and through our man Bruno Fernandes as we need him. So yeah. Yeah. Man. All your Bruno belong to us. Everyone talking about selling Bruno, but you got to understand the discussion, because just in before we move on to the next topic, I saw some interesting comments, and I said I heard a few things, and the question was like, why do you always talk about like selling Garnacho or something like that? Well, for two reasons, really. Like, first of all, Casemiro, for example, we bought him for 60 million over 5 years. That's 12 million a year, okay? How many seasons has he been here now? 3? We still owe 24 million on his amortization this summer. You know what I'm saying? So the point being on that is selling Casemiro, of course, if he were to leave, we would save the wages and things like that, and that's all good. We it's why it's certainly helpful. But do realize, like, we have to get 25 million to not take a loss on his fee. Now his wages are worth 15, 16 million a year. So we could take a little bit of a loss, write things off, and still come out ahead, but it's hard. We're not going to make a profit. His contract's over 4 years, but the amortization can still be over 5. As far as I know, the amortization can still be over 5. We don't actually know that for sure, for what it's worth, but one way or another, it can be over 5 or it can either way. So it could be, if it was over 4, then we will still owe obviously 15. Either way, we have to get a fee and his wages off. We have to get a fee and his wages off one way or another. And that's hard to do, because who's going to pay a fee for him at this point in time? You know what I mean? So at best, perhaps if we were let go for free and we were able to write off his wages, we'd break even. We'd save 15 million on his wages, but we'd take a 15 million loss, but we wouldn't have 15, it would be essentially a wash. There's not a lot of players that will get a ton of value out of. Antony is the same issue. You got to understand, right? Yeah, 5 is the maximum. Antony is the same issue. You got to understand. It's the same issue. We owe 30 something million on him still, no matter what happens. We won't make a profit. Now, if we could sell him for 30, we'll save on how much we're amortizing, but we're not going to make this like significant gain of money. You know what I mean? Rashford will make profit on, but we do have a problem there. You do the math here. He's on, let's say, 300,000 a week times 52 times how many years does he have left still on this new deal? 3. So you're talking about +1, technically. You owe Rashford 46 million pounds. You understand that? United as a club owe Rashford 46 million pounds. So if we sell him for 40, how much do we have to cover of that? Because if he's gonna get the same wages somewhere else, then it's not an issue. Then the payoff isn't required. But let's say someone else is going to give him 150,000. Let's say, someone else is giving him 150,000. Well, then we still are probably on the hook for 25 million. We're still on the hook for 25 million at that point in time. So we may not get much. We do get the wages cleared, but I think that's already factored into our spending for what it's worth. That the wages will be gone. So that is an issue. This situation came up with Maguire 2 years ago when there was a consideration about him moving to West Ham. We still owed him 15 million at that time. There was a 10 million gap between what we would owe and the wages he would be earning, and he said, I want to get that money paid. You gave me the contract. I'm happy to stay at United. You want to sell me. Yeah, exactly. And that couldn't be agreed, and actually the deal fell through. The contracts are basically guaranteed. That's the issue. The contracts are essentially, they are guaranteed. They're two-way contracts, right? They're guaranteed. So we also had to pay out a little bit for Wan-Bissaka, I believe. So it's a similar issue. The reason why you see it come up with United is because because we've given such big wages. Like when someone comes from Brighton and gets bought by somebody, they're getting a pay bump. So there's nothing in it. There's nothing in it at all. When someone comes from United and drops down, then you have this big difference on wages. But if the player puts in a transfer request, no, not true necessarily. They could still ask for their wages, but they do give up certain penalties. Fred, we had to pay some money out, etc. Yeah, so we've had to pay for a lot of people's wages or bonuses or fees to them when they've left because we've given out big contracts for a long time. That's why we usually are trying to fix the wage structure, because you got to see, like, it's so bad how we've paid out big wages. Let's say Casemiro goes, he's got a year left, right? But he's only going to get 200,000 somewhere. Well, he might be entitled to ask for 7 million. So then we have to factor that into the potential sale of him and yada yada, et cetera, et cetera. That is the problem with the wage. The wages we were giving out were so insane in how they had this long-term impact on us as a club. When we're bad at selling, this is why. It's because of this exact issue. We could, you know. Explain then the situation with Villa's option to buy at 40 million and a club of Rashford's choice wanting him. Do they have to put in an offer? The option only exists for Aston Villa. Okay. So it does somebody else. We are not entitled to sell at 40 million to anybody else. Yeah, we'll talk about Mantato in a minute as he's signing his contract today. Looks like it is now a done deal essentially. There you go. Got an image on it. I'll grab that so we can look at it here in a second. Thanks for telling me about that tweet. Yes sir. Bendito Mantato. But anyway, yeah, we will get to that next. That's next on our list, the Mantato deal. Happening and just happening right now. So we have this problem. So when someone says to me, well, why do you talk about selling Garnacho? It's simple. He's on 50,000 a week and he's profit. Financially, he is the best asset we have at the club, where we could afford to lose him as a player. Okay? Like, financially, he's the best asset to you know, as a player to sell to raise money. We won't have to pay out wages. He will get a bump wherever he goes if he is sold. And we would have profit. We don't have amortization on him. So it's the simplest sale. So when I say, when you think through all the complications, what deal gives you the most cleanest financial gain? It's Garnacho. That's just the truth. Okay, no matter how you feel about the player, that is the truth. Then you obviously factor in the fact that we're signing essentially a player to replace him in Cunha. And then you have the fact that he's been linked with, talked with, discussed with other clubs. Okay, so you know, that's all there. Okay, like, it is what it is. So when I say it's really not personal in the slightest. It is a reality that if we need to sell somebody to gain money, most of the people we're selling aren't doing that much for us, and they're very complicated. That's the reason. That's why. That's pretty much it. You know what I'm saying? It is that simple. Yeah, that's all. It's not more complex than that. That's the reason. Højlund, we still owe. Fuck me, right? Like, we still. You don't want to know how much we still owe on Højlund, but it's a lot, right? We still owe 40 something million on Rasmus Højlund, so there's no way we're gonna get our money back on that. You know what I mean? We're gonna take a loss if we sell him. You know, Dallo maybe, but I doubt he's going to be sold. That's just the challenge, really. That's what we're faced with. Mount and Shaw, same issue on this wages front. Mount, we still owe, 12 times 5, so 28, so 32, 36. Yeah, 36 million on Mount at the end of this season. And he's on 250K a week. There's no chance. Maybe a loan. Shaw, 250,000 a week. Not amortized, but you have the wage problem. The same wage problem that you have with Rashford, for example, and then that's on top of, the injury aspect. That's there as well. So that's the concern. If we could move them, we would. but it's complicated. You could still get I told you United fans aren't as abusive or as harsh as you make them seem. It depends, Splash. I mean, I think what happened with Xerxes early in the season was really classless, to be quite honest. But I think it is mostly more online, honestly. I think it's more online than anywhere else. I think in person it's always been better for sure. But to be fair, like there's been some incidents. I mean, Pogba went through some definite incidents. You know, Rashford went through some definite incidents and things like that. But you know, it is what it is. Um, Whoever signed Mount needs to be hired. It's even worse. It's even worse, Ramon. It's even worse, Ramon, when you realize that McAllister was the other option and we were very interested in him and he like we had discussions with him and all of that, but we let Liverpool get the jump on us because certain people preferred Mason Mount, you know. Even worse when you had McAllister for 35 million available that we were interested in. Oh my God, I don't want to talk about it. Um, I'm good, Sudi. Hope you're good as well, or however you pronounce it. Um, so yeah, Bruno stays. That's why. Yeah, so in terms of funds, it's really about Champions League or other sales that are going to give us more money. Um, in terms of Bendito Mantato, as I've been speaking about now for a while, as of last week, I'd heard they had some issues sorted out. They had some issues sorted out. Not issues like promised minutes, not issues like anything like that. It was logistics, technical details, things like that. They got sorted out last week. He moved into training with the first team immediately then as expected, and today has signed his contract. Our good friend Sully shared this morning that he was signing today. I've definitely been able to confirm that. And we expected it. We were a little bit worried because it was supposed to be earlier, but it just kept a little few days kept dragging on. And I was like, God, I hope there aren't more issues. But today, done deal. Bendito Mantato has finally signed his pro contract. Academy Scoop here, our other good friend, has signed his first professional contract, and he's got a picture of him here signing it. 4 years with the option of another. So finally got done. He will be in the squad likely again for Europa League, and he will hopefully then be in line this week. This is the week for either minutes in the Europa League or minutes on Sunday, or perhaps both, right? Last week we got Cheeto his first start. We got Fredrickson another start. We got Amos another start. This week, my hope is, if we're still up a decent amount, come 70, 80 minutes in the Europa League, that Bendito can come on, especially as we're a little bit short at fullback with Dallo being injured at the moment. Maybe he will start at the weekend. Hopefully. Him, Kamason, we've got some options that hopefully can get themselves into the team for a debut on one of these games. We have the opportunity to do so, and I think it would be awesome. So big positive that he's now signed his deal, and I sincerely hope we will be able to see him soon. I think he will be getting some minutes here because I think this is what we were essentially waiting for in order for him to get those opportunities in the team. And that's big. So that's cool. Really happy to see that. Looks great to me. And yeah, good stuff. Very, very good stuff. He is definitely somebody who will be. Yeah, look, now we've got, and Fabrizio shared earlier that Amos would be getting a new contract. Now that he could go on loan still, but they're going to talk to Amos about a contract. But you got to think now we've got Dorgu, Leon, Amos, Bendito, Ahmad, Dallo. We have like 6, and Luke Shaw. We have like 6 options for the wingback and fullback positions now. I mean, that's a far cry from having nobody. Maybe 7, maybe 8. Like we've got wingbacks flying out the ass now compared to using center backs at fullback for the last 2 seasons. So it's a big improvement overall. And yeah, some of them are young and some of them are unproven and all of that. But we'll get a chance to see them, get a chance to have them develop, get a chance to have them take part in the team, um, for sure. And hopefully that'll help us have a better time. And hopefully it means we can also prioritize the attacking ones, the Hamads and, Dorgus and Mentatos and all of that kind of stuff. Um, Hamas needs a loan. Like I think Hamas could use a loan too, but we'll probably see come summer between him and Diego Leon who's better, who's capable. We'll probably see Kamason and Mentato and such in training and see who can stay and who could be a part of the first team next season. So, I think that's fine. I think that's we're in line there. And if Shaw is healthy, then you could start Shaw. If Shaw is fit, then you could start Shaw. I would not write Dorgu off in the slightest yet. I hear the concerns. We all watch the same games on that note. We all see the clumsiness. We all see the clunkiness. We all see some of the issues that he's had. But it's far too soon to be sure that it's not just an adjustment period, that it's not just, the occasion is too big for him. Part of me thinks it's that too. And I will say that why? Because if you look at the game against Bilbao, for example, he was really poor the first 20 minutes. But obviously, I think it was the pressure that was getting to him. And I think that one of the things I believe that I don't think is very commonly, maybe I shouldn't say that. One of the things I definitely believe is that a lot of things that look like faults in ability and technical skill and things like that can simply come down to pressure and being able to adjust. So I don't think anybody's writing him off and all of that, but he hasn't been here long. Let's give him time. Let's give him the summer. We're not going to buy another wing back. That's for sure. We're not going to buy another left wing back, right? So we're going to see how he does next season one way or another. He's here. He's going to do it. He'll have more time. He'll have a preseason. He'll have more experience, and we'll see. So we'll find out. We'll find out. But I would say that, we're unlikely to necessarily spend big in the back line now this season. It sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong on this. It sounds like from Amorim, that De Ligt is fine. He had scans Tuesday and there was a lot of worry, but it sounds like he might be okay. Is that what he said? I didn't actually see that part of it, but I saw quotes him saying he'll miss a couple games, but it's not bad, which is, to me, that's huge, right? Because that means, Heaven could be back by the final. De Ligt, not a serious injury. We have Maguire, we have Mazraoui, we have Lenny Yoro. Am I missing somebody for some reason? For next season. So maybe, and then Lissandro is still here, of course, and could be back. I still think we should get one, but I don't think we'll spend big this summer on one. I think it's a next year topic. I think it's a next year topic. I think it's one where next season, if we fix things right, like if you were to ask me today, I would buy 3 forwards, 1 goalkeeper, 1 midfielder. If you had to buy, like in your first 5 purchases, 3 forwards, 1 goalkeeper, 1 midfielder. And if that's all you could get, that's fine. I would still do that this year and not get a defender. And then next summer, you could get a center back and another midfielder, let's say, something like that. But that's what I would do with it, because that's just what I think is the biggest priorities in the team when you look at the personnel overall. Now, of course, yeah, Jonathan Todd, that as a free option could also be one we could get, but you don't want to go spend a bunch of money this summer as well. Todd makes sense to me too in that respect. Wrong 3 fingers? No, that's how I'm American. I wouldn't make it as a spy, huh? Correct 3 fingers for an American. If I did it this way, this way, excuse me, right? Then it would come. I do often do it this way though, because my dad is from South Africa, and so So I grew up with him doing counting fingers different to Americans, and sometimes it flips back and forth for me. Um, I know it's hard to predict. Do you think United go for Wharton next year? Could be. Stuart, are United interested in the young Betis player, and could a deal be done with Anthony involved in the deal? Cardoso, right, was the guy that there was some links to. Now, tell me if I'm wrong here. Um, what was the game that Vivel was supposedly at? By the way, um, what was the game Vivel was supposedly at? Was it Betis versus who was it against? Was it Fiorentina? I don't remember, honestly, because that will lead to our next topic here. Fiorentina, right. And so there was some assumption that it might have been Cardoso, but then today, of course, we have links from. So yesterday, Santi said that we had to talk with Osimhen. We like Gyökeres, we like Delap, and he said one other, and then today he named it as Moise Kean. Now, the immediate response to that is obviously, I see from everybody, very, very negative. I'm not going to try to argue differently with you, by the way. But I just want to look at it to understand it. Now, one thing that we should note that is true is United have been watching him. I don't know if they've been watching him recently, but before he moved to Everton and like around that whole time period a couple seasons ago, United did have eyes on him. Santi is I wouldn't say Santi is not a credible source though. He actually I'm not I don't like to sit and bash people on the videos or anything. But I wouldn't say that Santi is a not credible source. He is a source that I would take note of when he says things. Obviously, like you look for confirmation from some people, but I do think he is somebody who gets information. He has. Um, but yeah, I'll check Moyes in a minute here. But United had been kind of watching. Yeah, Santi's a real journalist who's broken real stories. That is for sure. But United were watching him. But I remember I was looking at him recently for some reason, and I was trying to remember why. And then I remember this morning that I did a video about right about why I wanted to. Oh my God. I did a video about why we should. What was it? What my concern was with young strikers, right? And what I came to and Moise Kean was one of the players that I looked at and said that's a guy who failed. Another young striker who came into to a team in the Premier League as a young guy who was going to be the guy, and he had a rough time, a rough go of it. He was another failed young striker, which was a part of when I was looking at how many young strikers have been brought in to lead the line and failed, and came to the conclusion that young strikers are a huge risk to sign in general, and that I started to have serious concerns about that, right? So he was wide. Now, if we look at his numbers here, he had kind of started to be promising, I guess, at Juventus. Then he was purchased, had a rough time at Everton, went off to PSG and actually did pretty well. Went back to Everton, same season, I guess, so not really. The next season, he was there very, very briefly, didn't really play. Then he went to Juventus, didn't really make an impact, and then he went to Fiorentina, and now he's having a good season. Right, Toto Sport, I think, have said Juventus have made Højlund a top target this summer, and they linked us to one Douglas Luiz that I have brought up recently. I'm not sure how, it's not a great source on its own, to be fair, but Douglas Luiz as an attacking eight is someone United have followed. We talked about him not that long ago. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that was the link. So here's Moise Kean on this. Doesn't tell you particularly much. He's just a striker, you know. He's just a striker. He just scores some goals. Doesn't particularly carry the ball much. Well, let's look back here at this here. He does have a good take on percentage. He does win duels quite often though. That's not bad. And he's a good shooter according to the stats. That's what it says about him. But you obviously also have, you wanted me to compare Samu, right? Yeah, I mean they're similar, right? In that respect. The problem you have, of course, is that Kean is 25 and we've seen years of failure, right? We've seen him fail in a lot of instances. Samu, of course, being 20, and he's actually been quite successful. But yeah, I mean, that is the biggest concern. Like if Kean was having the season he's having now, and it was the first time we've seen him, I think a lot of people would be, hey, that's promising. He's 20, 22 years old, having a 17-goal season, all of that. We'd be looking at it and saying that's a good player, right? But it's the fact that we've seen so much of him go poorly, obviously. I mean, look, he's going to have stats similar to a lot of these guys, because this is a striker's chart. It's not like his season is bad right now. He's got a striker's chart. That's what he's got. He's got how many pens? That's a good question. Only one. So he's got good goals. I mean, look, he's scoring goals. It's like, look, he's doing well here. So it's fine. But we have seen him in the Premier League not cut it. And we have seen him at Juventus not cut it, right? So if you ask him to come in and lead the line at United, I think it's a guaranteed flop right now. I mean, because one season's not good enough, is it? Now, how much, I don't know what kind of price you're talking about. I don't know what you're looking at there. But yeah, I think it'd be a massive, massive, massive risk. A massive risk. I really do. Like there's obviously a talented player in there. When there was a reason people were really hyped on Kean before, because there's obviously a talent in there somewhere. You know what I mean? But like I don't know, man. But we've seen him do really poorly on multiple occasions in recent times on at other clubs. So you can't like write that off. You know what I mean? Like you just can't. You can't write that off. You can't say, "Hey, those things didn't happen." He's been crap. Um so yeah, like I'd rather he's a 50 million euros release clause. Too much, way too much money. I'd rather get Mateta for similar money. I'd rather get Mbumo for a few million, for 15 million more. I'd rather get who else could we get? I'd rather stick with Xerxes, get and just run players around him, So yeah, it's just not enough. We've seen enough to know he's not. I'd rather take Rashford back. Yeah, agreed, AO. If you're gonna spend 50 million, just take Rashford back and play him at the 9. He'll do better than Kean, guaranteed. I'd be positive that Rashford would do better at the 9 than Kean. Yeah, Mateta, Wissa, Watkins. Like take any of those guys if you're gonna spend that kind of money. I wouldn't take Schick either. I serious vibe concerns off of these strikers in the Bundesliga. Retegui. Yeah, look, there's other young players who are probably more of a better bet, but Victor Gyökeres failed at the Premier League as well, though. Look, you're not totally wrong. I mean, you are, but I understand what you're saying because it's the same concerns that I have about Gyökeres' career arc. He did not actually play in the Premier League. That's why you're wrong. Just for what it's worth, he did not actually ever play in the Premier League. That's why I say you're wrong. I do know what you're saying though, but if you look at his career, he never actually played in the Premier League. He did have a bit of a weird arc, but he did kick on for Coventry before leaving. It's just it's more that he never got a step up, but like we never got to see him in a big league until 25. You know, that's the issue. Like he was kind of crap until 23, and then we never actually got to see him step up to a big league before he was already 25 years old at Sporting. So that's it's not a red flag. It's more of like a, I don't know, it's more of like a Harry Kane-ish kind of flag, but that doesn't mean he's going to be as good. It's just that sometimes, you know, yeah, he did very well in the last few years of the championship. Let's put it that way. I do have another example of this I was thinking about the other day, by the way. Hold on, I'll pull it up. He wasn't as old. He wasn't as old though. You know, and because I was thinking about Bruno till 23 years old, not 2023. 23 years old, not 2023. I was saying till 23. 23, 24. If you look at Bruno, he bounced around Italy here. Then he ended up at Sporting, had a good season at 22, and then blew up at 23. So, you know, it's not necessarily like it's a difference of like a year. Bruno kind of blew up at the same time age-wise as Gyökeres did, right? So, not a red flag. It's just at all, because it could be like this. It could be like this. Sometimes, you know, they take their step up and then, well, not even a step up. In this case, it was almost a step down from Serie A to the Portuguese league, but he blew up in the Portuguese league then after stepping away from Italy, and look at what happened, you know. So I don't know. I like Portugal for this reason. There's a lot of interesting players who've come through there. But yeah. Anyway, Kean, obviously, I would say if you look at all the options we've been linked with and all the people we've spoken about, I wouldn't take Kean at all. I just wouldn't take him. I wouldn't take him at all. I've seen enough, you know. I've seen enough to know he's not that guy. That's it, you know. Hi James. So far, players like Dorgu fits and improve the teams, even if performance was that good. With that stated, Mastantuono fits. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree with that point. That's kind of my thing on why I think we'll be a lot better with just a few players, because if we can get the right fit, then that's most important than anything else. It's fit over everything, and that's why, you know, I think people are underrating the level of the players that we have, but the balance of them is very, very off. Mastantuono absolutely does fit as a 10, yeah. And I don't think he's too risky at all. He's the type of player would get. On that Bruno discussion, the conclusion that I came to, by the way, on that was we shouldn't sell Bruno. What we should 100% do, though, is buy Bruno's backup. We need to buy his backup. We need to buy his backup. That is what we need to do. We need to buy the guy who will replace Bruno Fernandes and give them time under Bruno Fernandes, with Bruno Fernandes, to become that guy. That's the right thing to do. When you look at, like, I would say in a way how Madrid have addressed their midfield, rather than just selling everybody off, you know, Kroos and Modric sticking around and having players come in underneath them, Casemiro for a while, right? Having players come in underneath him and build those successors under the senior players. You know, I like that. We need a successor to Bruno. That's what I would say. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned Cunha there, Jimbo. Yeah, similarly there too. If you look at Cunha, you know, he got a decent. This isn't a bad season, but it's a little bit odd. This is not a bad season. At 22, a goal and assist per 100 minutes is actually really strong. I don't actually know what the complication was there. But 10 goals and assists in 1,000 minutes is quite a good return. And then, he transferred in January or whatever. Wasn't really playing, and then he really kicked on, right? So yeah, if Cunha wasn't doing in the Prem, I'd be a little more worried, but because it's in the Prem, that's good as well. But yeah, in a similar way, there's a number of players who've kicked on at 24, 25 as attackers, that's for sure. Palmer does not have a release clause. He does not. That was killed earlier today from guys in London. Palmer does not have a 60 million release clause. He don't. He darn't. He doesn't. He don't. He do not. What's going on? Hold on. Sorry, I just heard some thumps outside of my office. I think it was just my dogs, but just making sure I'm not being home invaded, Anyway. Any chance Garnacho stays? Sure. Look, if we get into Champions League, there's more chance of players staying, of anybody staying. There's less chance of we need to sell, because our priority is to buy, basically. It's just about buying. Yeah. Yeah. Well, 24, 25 is fine. The biggest red flag with Kean is that we've seen a lot of seasons of him not performing. And not even just not performing, being utter bad play, being bad. And then only having one season in Italy. If he was doing it in the Premier League, I would be a little less, but it's the fact that it's one season in Italy and he's already been in the Prem and flopped. That's a big, big, big worry. So players can kick on at different ages, but that's a big, big worry to me. That is definitely one. On the youth front, one of the things I want to mention is that there's a lot of players who are being released, right? There were some reports about other players being released, about other players going now, other players leaving at this point in time. I don't remember the exact names that were mentioned, but there's more to come for sure there. It's that time of year where some youth and academy players leave, at the end of the season for the youth season, since it ends a bit earlier. So we'll be seeing more departures of youth players as well. And obviously that means you promote the ones who are left, you promoting some from younger, and you're also needing to get some more in. Can we try to find alternative to Kean as a striker? Why isn't Morehouse getting bench time or minutes? I don't know. Maybe he's just not rated like that. A lot of people rate him really highly. We'll see. I don't know. I don't have the answer. Amorim obviously picks players when he thinks they're ready. But I think people are look. All I'm gonna say again on this is be careful, because like we saw, I would hope that a game like Brentford was a little bit of a wake up call. A little bit of a wake up call. All these guys, Almas is a good player. He got absolutely bullied all game. Probably every single goal was, to a degree, his fault. Fredrickson is a good player. Most of the goals, to a lesser degree, were his fault. Most, not all. They got bullied. They got bullied physically. You had Amorim talk about Cheeto using his body, being a bit naive with it, because he's thinking he's bigger, stronger, faster at the youth level, but not at senior football. And you have to change how you act and how you operate and how you move. But it should be a little bit of a wake up call, this point to keep making. Like, it is really hard for these kids to step into the first team, and most of them aren't going to make it. They're just not making it. We just have to understand it, accept it, and live with it. They might not, even if they're talented, even if they're very good. It matters. So we'll see. Yeah, I mean, when we've looked at it, there's a reason why Heaven, unfortunately, being injured instantly was such an immediate, like, wow, he could play, because physically he's there. You don't have to worry about it. Physically, he's imposing. Physically, he's strong. All of that kind of stuff. But look, Amram's doing it well, doing it fine. But it's yeah. If he thinks they're ready, exactly, Xiao Pino. Yeah, you got it. Like, if he thinks they're ready, they'll play. So that's what I would say. So he's obviously, to me, just not viewed as ready. That's all. You know, but we'll see. We'll find out. There's going to be a number of players who come on the preseason tour. That's one thing to keep in mind, and that'll give us some big clues as to next season as well, and who will stick, who will twist, and who will go on loan and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there are other youth who are set to depart here as well. Doesn't play youth for the sake of it. And I mentioned this early in the season when he's getting a lot of criticism for it. Like, he does feel you've got to earn it. He does feel that if you play, then it should be meaningful. And he's not going to do it just so that people can sit there and go, wow, Ruben, you played the youth. You're so great. And he's not going to play them to try to make sure they sign a contract. He's got a very, very, he's very, what's the word for it? Principled on this front, Yeah. So a lot of them, I think they need a loan. They need a loan as well. Let's see. Moving on to Bilbao and Spurs. Obviously, Bilbao missing their three starting forwards. Obviously, they had Nico and Inaki for last game, but are missing them for this game. Sanchet is still missing, so they're missing their three forwards. We're up 3-0. That's just good news for us. We'll take it. We will take it. Is Amram's job safe regardless? Let me ask you a question. Last season, what was the biggest mistake Ineos made? What do you think? Not last season. Since they've got in, what was the biggest mistake Ineos made? What was it? What do you guys think? Yeah, keeping Ten Hag. Yeah, keeping Ten Hag. Right. Why though? Why was it such a big mistake? What do you think? I mean, aside from rating Ten Hag, what was the exact error that they made? Like, regardless, what was the exact error? Right. It was, they knew they were going to sack him. Right. Regardless of whether it was right, wrong, how you rate Ten Hag, doesn't matter. They knew they didn't want him, but they flipped because of one game, or they would not have let him stay. They would have figured out a way to replace him no matter what if he had not won that game. So they're not doing that again. If Amorim is here right now, there's nothing that can happen through the rest of the season that's changing his position towards next season. You understand what I mean by that? It's too late. Like, we're not going to, there's nothing that can happen between today and the end of the season that changes Ruben Amorim's position as manager. So unless they've already decided to sack him, then nothing's happening. You know what I mean? That's the truth. Because whether we win Europa or not means nothing. In the vein of Ruben Amorim, he's not going to decide the Europa League final. I hope we understand that as people. Ruben Amorim is not going to decide the Europa League final if we get there. The 11 players who start that game are going to define that. They're going to win or lose that game. Big games is all about players. Look, let me ask you a question here for a second, okay? Let me ask you a question here for a second. You take that game yesterday. Oh, what a game, right? Inter versus Barcelona. What an incredible game that was, right? I mean, unbelievable. If you walk away from that game thinking about the tactical approaches of Inzaghi versus what's his face, you got it wrong. You got it wrong. You've lost it. That was about those players on the pitch and what they did. That's what made it such an incredible game. It was about those players who were out there kicking the ball, not the managers, in those big games. That's what means something. And that's what European competitions have mostly been about. To be clear, it's one of the reasons why it was not even the most successful way for Sir Alex in compared to his success in England, was because we didn't have the best players compared to the Spanish teams. The players showed up. It's not like was that make Sir Alex, less of a manager because he didn't win as much in Europe? No, because it when you get to those tournaments, it is more about the players than the manager when you get to the tournaments. Sure, you make subs, you can do things like that, but a lot of it is like reverse judgment. If it works, it's great. If it didn't work, you criticize, but you don't know. There's no objective right call. Only Jose influence finals. Well, there are managers who do that, right? There are tournament managers who do things like that, right? For sure, at times. But you gotta watch the game, and you look at that game, and you look at, did Inzaghi make Jan Sommer, 37 years old, turn into the best goalkeeping performance of all time? Was that Inzaghi who did that? He did that? He changed that? He made Sommer to make those saves, No, come on now. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference. In the game to game over the course of a season, of course a manager has an effect, and of course managers can get it very wrong in tournaments and in football and in big games and things like that. But the weight of how it shifts in big games is on the players. For me, it's always been that way for me. In big games, the weight shifts to the players. I've always said I do think people overrate the effect of managers regardless. Yeah. That's I think that quite explicitly, that people overrate the effect of managers on games in general. Like I think that managers have the effect of a few positions on a team over the course of a season. But it's more about building. Squad building is more important than managers. You build a squad and you have a manager that fits the squad you've built. And look, I mean, let's take Liverpool, for example. Unfortunately, they built a really good squad on Jurgen Klopp, who I think is who's a great manager in my opinion. And then Arne Slot comes in and wins it in his first season, far and away the best team in the Premier League. Well, why? Is Arne Slot like the best manager of all time? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. I think that they got it right on building the squad. And then they got a manager who fit in there, that fit it really, really well. But the best thing Liverpool did, unfortunately, was they built a good squad that fits together, that is balanced, that has all the right pieces. And then they got a manager who could keep it aligned and keep it running and keep it flowing. But who was more influential, Mohamed Salah or Arne Slot on Liverpool's season, in your opinion? Me, it's far and away Mohamed Salah. By like, come on, let's be real for a second. It's Salah. It's like, end of the day, you replace Salah, there's no chance they win the league. You replace Slot, they probably do still. They probably can. Um, they could probably win the league with multiple different managers, frankly. That's just a view. I don't think it's an American view at all. There's a lot of data behind it. Sir Alex was, again, probably the exception to the rule with just how good he was. You know what I mean? To be fair. But to be fair to Sir Alex, one of the things that made him great was how he built his teams. He built good teams. That was the thing that we were missing when he left United. More than anything else, we missed, he built teams. And there was nothing to build when he was done. There was nothing left when he was done. And there was nobody to replace him when he was done. Sir Alex was not just a coach. He wasn't just a tactics guy. In fact, he said himself many times that, right? But he did build. He was a club builder. He was a team builder. He did that. And that is more important than it is just tactical. Than the X's and O's. That's the truth. Right. Do you remember Sir Alex tactics? Yeah. Oh, yeah. During the away game and Kean. Exactly. You remember Kean, you remember Solskjaer 2 goals. Was that tactical brilliance? I'm not saying it wasn't a good sub, but you knew that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was an amazing substitute by then, right? You knew that already. But it wasn't like it was tactics necessarily. Like there was a good shift and some good sub. But Solskjaer scoring 2 goals off of some bounces was, give him some credit for that, like of being in the right place at the right time and being such an intelligent striker. That doesn't happen if it's other players. It happens because Solskjaer was that good, and and at identifying those moments. And you look at his record as a sub; it's on another planet, right? But anyway, hot take: this idea of an American view. It's just so it's Snide way of saying a modern view. It's basically just, I disagree, so I'm gonna write off your opinion. But it's not. His brilliance lay in building that squad, exactly, and managing the people, the personalities, and all of that. Facts, no doubt about that. Tactics are not at a high point at that time. Yes, and there's an aspect of building towards the balance. And look, it's not that I don't think tactics are important or that a game plan is important or anything like that. That is totally true. But squad building is still the difference more than anything. That's Ten Hag. Ten Hag, we've talked about this with Ten Hag. Ten Hag might be a decent coach. He's the worst squad builder in the history of United, far and away. And that's, to me, why he's the worst manager of all time. Look at the squad he put together. Fucking nonsense. It has all these parts that don't fit, that don't match, that make absolutely no sense together, even if there's some good players in there. Because I rate a fair number of the players. It's like he's the worst squad building of all time came under Ten Hag. I'm not saying he's the only person to blame, but he did build the squad with Murtaugh, with the Glazers, and with the former management in there. That's why we are so bad. He built a squad that is now in 15th place. You understand that, right? That wasn't the tactics necessarily. It was the squad that he put together that had no parts. That had nothing fit together. You look at it today and you think, this doesn't even make sense. We destroyed the physicality of the team. We destroyed it. But we destroyed it. Solskjaer built a pretty decent team. Carl Anka said it's pancakes with rice, with curry, with ice cream and cherry on top. Exactly. I think Solskjaer had a good idea to build, but wasn't that great of a tactical manager. And then it was all dumped in the lake by, he didn't have the right, like Solskjaer had a better idea of building a squad, in my opinion, for sure. It's actually the thing I thought he did really well. We ignored him too often, unfortunately, at the time, and didn't give him players. Like if we'd gotten a lot of the players he really wanted, they're not 100% hits, but it all made sense. A lot of it made sense, you know. A lot of it made sense to me. It all added up. Now I look at it and I think, yeah, the squad we're building starts to make sense. And Amarim's the guy for that is in place at the moment. But the point being, on the whole original discussion, if we lose the Europa final, barring like starting Mazraoui at the 10, because that's how a manager can get it totally wrong. Barring starting Mazraoui at the 10, I put 5% on the manager as to whatever happens in that Europa final. It's going to be on. Look at the players we've got. Bruno's got to show up. Maguire's got to show up. Look at the difference, right? Look at the reasons we've gone through in these rounds. Maguire, that first goal, Maguire, that first goal for against Bilbao, settling things down, getting out there on the wing, smacking that cross in. That's your center back. That's tactical. No. That's the players got to take the fucking game by the balls and make something happen. They got to make something happen themselves, So when it comes to these games tomorrow, it was like I had a big argument with KG on the red carpet on Monday, because they said, like, come on, man, like, how Thursday, if we blew a 3-0 lead, you really think it would be on Ruben Amorim? Like, how is it even possible? Look at the players we've got, and how could it be on the manager if we blow a 3-0 lead at home to Bilbao? How is it like, it cannot be possible, because there's no way a manager can do anything about that at that point. Like, there's no tactic. You could sit in a deep block for 95 minutes and you shouldn't blow a 3-0 lead against Bilbao. You know what I mean? Like, there's just no way, man. There's just no way that it can be on the manager if something like that happens. It's going to be down to massive errors by individuals in the game, and people who cannot handle it mentally, right? And the same goes for the final. It'll be on Maguire. It'll be on Bruno. It'll be on Casemiro. It'll be on Ugarte. It'll be on Garnacho. It'll be on the guys that we have that we can put out on the pitch to make something happen. Guardiola's teams are based on great players. Well, right, Guardiola gets all this praise, but look at the players he's had, right? Messi, he won most everything with Messi, and then he's won most everything with far and away the best people, the best team in England. It's team quality is over everything. Team quality is the maximizing deciding factor. You can credit the coach for the mental part. Yeah, to a degree, but only if they've had time to shape the squad in a way that you want them to. There are players who are just mentally not it, that will never show up on the big stage. There are players you'll want to get rid of because mentally you cannot rely on them. And there are players that you'd want to bring in who, because of their mentality, because of their what you find, with them, right? Pep couldn't do it with Stoke City. Pep couldn't do it without Rodri, One player goes down and it's all out the window. That tells you everything, because suddenly their squad becomes unbalanced because they don't have a backup for Rodri. That's the truth of it, right? Guardiola couldn't come into this team and suddenly we'd be flying, because there's nothing he would hate the entire way the squad is built. He would hate it. So it's squad building, and then when you feel you have a balanced squad, it's getting the most out of it. The issue for Ten Hag was they felt he had a squad that was shaped the way he wanted, that he spent a lot of money on, and he had no idea how to make it. And so that's the sign of a bad manager. How do you put, if you don't know how to put the pieces together with pieces you bought, then that's why you don't have a job. Um, Putting the pieces together with a broken, walking into a broken mirror and trying to put it all together, and like, that's a different story. So my point on all of that was, um, going back to it, there's nothing really you're going to learn about Ruben Amorim, and they're not going to make the decision based on one game, because it's not the manager's fault, nor is it really 100%. Like, over the course of the season, of course, we've improved in Europe since Amorim has come in. That's not an accident. Um, but in that individual game, you're not going to learn whether you should keep a manager or not. Someone mentioned we got Solskjaer because of Paris. Well, that was also a mistake. That's not why he should have got the job. Ugarte and Casemiro on yellow cards. No, it resets, Richie. So I thought so as well. I was worried about that too. Yoro also, I think, is. But no, you cannot miss the final due to yellow card accumulation. You have to get a red in the second leg in order to miss the final. So there, we don't have a concern there. Just nobody can get a red card. Yeah, I agree with that, Amy. Sir Alex and Klopp probably improved players to become more quality, while Pep is the guy who takes the finished articles and puts them together properly. So, yeah, I would agree with that. But Solskjaer shouldn't have gotten the job because of PSG. He wasn't qualified for it at that point in time. And then we fell off over the rest of the season anyway, so it's like, whatever. Now, you could really like Solskjaer's time at United. That's fine. Maybe he would have done a lot better if we had better decisions above him. But I still think he would have made a better director than he would have a manager. But he also had good assistants for tactics, McKenna and Carrick, who did a lot of the tactical work that helped us during a long time. So there was the potential for that team to do something. Maybe it would have been different if we'd been able to get better players. I still think it was a bit too old school, a bit too transition and counterattacking based in his philosophy for squad building to ever reach the heights we wanted to reach. But you never know. Do I think United can beat them in the final? The difference between European form and league, it's physicality. We run over these Spanish teams physically. We don't run over the English teams physically. That's pretty much it to me. I don't think there's actually any difference, frankly. We run over these European teams physically. Højlund wins his battles, Garnacho wins his battles, etc. Yeah, but he did all he did have a good eye for a player. I always said that as well. I thought he had really good ideas. There was a lot of players he really did like that I think would have helped us be better. I really like McKenna too, but it's like McKenna. You look at him, Ipswich are going down. Is it McKenna's fault? You're gonna have a lot of people say yes. You're gonna have a lot of people say it is because he should have been more pragmatic for the Premier League and blah blah blah. But I knew he was going to get relegated. We spoke about it when he turned a move down and he stayed at Ipswich. I said he's going to have a rough go because he can't win. I tweeted it actually. I said he can't win. They will get relegated because their squad isn't good enough, no matter what. And so you're either begging him to play a super defensive way to stay up. That is not what he does, or he gets relegated. Look at Company's Burnley versus Bayern, right? It's just he still has League One players. So what can he do? What was it? Is it Van Nistelrooy's fault that Leicester went down? Those types of things. It's like those teams are destined to be what they are, unfortunately. Yeah, one of United's problems has been making snap decisions. Right, we're building for the long term. And the other factor is recruitment is desperately affected by instability over the manager and the fact that we're trying to get deals like Cunha and such done early tell you we want stability. Tottenham, Son is missing Thursday. Madison is missing Thursday. There's a few others that are missing. Bergvall's out for the season. Madison's out for the season. Son will probably be back for the final if they get through. So it'll be a tough game for Spurs on Thursday. And then if they do get through, they will be missing a few key players. um, that I think do swing it in our advantage because they're players that are probably bad matchups for us. I mean, Madison and Bergvall, I think, are two bad matchups for us. I think they're players who are very good that we're likely to struggle against, and I think it definitely helps us missing them. Um, so you know, it's a good sign, but they obviously have to get through Glimt away. Bodo Glimt have a really good record at home, apparently in Europe, 3-1. You never know. You never know. So we'll see. Yeah, 6 minutes Arsenal hate watch. So I got to end it here because I'm gonna go watch that game now as well. It's time. It's time. It's time to smoke that Arsenal pack. You know what I mean? We'll see. But yeah, Spurs play away. Tough game for them. Big up hate watch. No, I don't have time for that. I also can't watch the whole game necessarily. I'm traveling in the middle of the night tonight. I'm traveling, so um, yeah, like in like an hour and a half or two, I've got to go drop dogs off at boarding, do a bunch of shit. Tomorrow, I unless some weird things with the flights, I might be live before. I should be all settled before the. I should be all settled before the game tomorrow to watch on Big Up and all of that. Um, I should have time to go live beforehand. I should, but I don't know 100%. It really just depends on the flights. I'm supposed to get in like 10:30. I'll probably get to the hotel around noon. So the game's at 3 Eastern time for me. So I should have time, but it's just where I'm at, if I'll be in the lobby or if the room's ready, things like that. So, but I'll be there for the game, no doubt. One way or another, I'll be there for the game. But we'll see about before that. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you all for hanging out. Thanks for watching today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the watch. Let's see what happens, and then we'll be back tomorrow. And once this leg, hopefully everything goes according to plan, then we don't have to worry ourselves and